So, we are now going back to our book, by the way.
I asked you the other day where we were supposed to.
You know, and I forgot to include it in my email. So, we are on lesson 15, page 177. If you don't have a book, we'll get you one. So I want to just mention something here. One of the things that I think is just so important is, and I've been increasingly concerned about this, is I really believe we are getting closer and closer to the return of Christ.
Yes, yes.
And we need to make sure we're ready for the Lord to return. And we're going to look at 1 John this morning. And basically 1 John is going to talk about one of the reasons we need to have deep fellowship with Christ is so that when we appear at the judgment seat of Christ, we don't shrink back in shame. Okay? Now, who can tell me the judgment seat of Christ? What is that? Who can kind of explain that?
Well, that's the Bema seat.
The Bema, okay?
And it is where people who have accepted Christ as their Savior are judged. So he's going to say, what did you do with my name?
Okay, now, are the people judged or are their works judged?
Their
Works.
works, because
Okay,
we are
works.
already saved.
Right, okay, so if you believed in Jesus for eternal life, we've been judged at the cross.
Right.
Not guilty. But our works, they are judged. Okay, so this is again 1 Corinthians 3. Everything a man has done goes into the furnace. The wood, hay, and stubble burns up. Gold, silver, and precious jewels come out. And that's our reward, right?
Right.
So what the Lord is looking for is simply this. What have we done with our time, our talents, and our treasures? Okay, so every one of us, and I believe, and I don't have time to get into it now, but I believe that how you end your life is weighted more heavily than maybe how you started.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Education counts, huh?
yeah. So, God's going to say, okay, David, here's how many hours you had every week of your life. We're going to take all those hours, put it into the furnace. And David, what you did just for yourself burns up. But what you did for me comes through. Okay? And he's going to say, Tammy, here's all your talents, your giftedness, what you're good at. You know, some people are good with their hands, right? And their hands are, they got real skills. And they can fix an engine. The kind of people that if anything breaks, they can do it, right? Other people, they're skilled at making money. Other people, they're skilled at we don't have anyone here like in the kitchen, right?
Kathy.
I was just checking to see who all's awake.
So,
Like you two ladies, you go into that kitchen and it's almost like food magically appears. Other people are skilled in talking to other people about Jesus. It's just really natural and comfortable. This also includes your spiritual giftedness. Okay, we're going to be having a class on that. on knowing what your spiritual gifts are. And so, like for instance, my giftedness is in teaching. So the Lord's going to take my teaching and say, okay, Jeff, did you use your teaching, to feel good about yourself, to build a following, for self or for selfish reasons, or did you use your gift of teaching to advance my agenda in the world? Then our treasures, our resources, our money. The American dream is, hey, it's your money. Pay your bills, have fun, spend it on yourself, And God's going to look and say, hey, what'd you do with your money? How much of your money did you give to the poor? Like the Bible's real clear about taking care of the poor. And that's one of the things I love about our church. And Matt has just done a phenomenal job with the benevolence ministry. And we've been a really generous church, which is awesome. But individually, in America we think, hey, this money's mine. And it's like, no, it's the Lord's. What do we do with it? So, the hard part is, I can just say here to everybody, hey, guess what? Live for eternity. Invest in eternity. But, how do you do that? Because you know what? I enjoy fishing. And if it were up to me, man, I would just...
Share your catch.
Yeah.
There you go.
If the Lord blesses me with a catch, I'd share it. But I would just want to take my money and my time and put it all into fishing because it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's rewarding for me, right? So how do I love fishing. How do I balance that? How do I say, you know what? I've got to deny myself. Like, I want to do this, but you know what? How do I really make sure I'm living for eternity? Well, the answer is having fellowship with Jesus. Fellowship with Jesus is what changes us. Let's say Roscoe here, more than anything, all he wants to do is go on cruises. Even with the coronavirus, he said, I can't wait.
The floating petri dish.
He says, like John Paul Jones, darn them torpedoes, full speed ahead, right? That's all he wants to do. Why? Well, what's behind that? Well, it's somehow gives him a sense of joy or oneness or completeness. And so a lot of people, we're just assuming, a lot of people they live for that. And that's their heaven on earth, right? Whether it's the cruises or hunting, fishing, or whatever it is. Comfort, TV, whatever. And what John is going to say, listen, there is this unbelievable joy that is a result of fellowship with God that eclipses everything the world has to offer. And when you realize, you've heard me in sermons before when I talk about this is really that. I want a boat to go fishing. And if I only had a boat, a jet boat, and I could go soaring up and down the Snake River, and I'd finally have arrived, and life would come together, and blah, 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 right? Well, the boat it's not really the boat that I want. It's what does the boat represent? Well, it's freedom, it's fun, it's enjoyment, it's in the sun, it's with my kids, and there's a cool factor to it. I'm not gonna deny that.
Until you put gas in it.
Yeah, exactly. I would only be able to tie it up and sit it at the dock.
That's serious.
Yeah.
$600 a weekend to run a jet.
Oh, yeah. But I really, the boat isn't gonna scratch the itch in my soul, is it? No one lies awake at night and says, oh, that boat I have, or this I have in the garage, or my estate that I've built, boy, it just gives me so much comfort I can now doze off. Or, my trophy wife, or, that brand new car. Any of the stuff we get, what comes with it?
Maintenance.
Maintenance and anxiety and insurance. So I get the boat, then it's like, oh no. How am I, with my kids, I have to get a big one with a bigger motor, more gas. Then it's like, how do I afford it? Oh no, what if I run the rapids and I take out the pump? How would I fix that? Now it's all this, now I have it, now how do I?
Added responsibilities.
Yeah. So you get crushed in the weight of all of that. And so John is going to tell us, listen, you can't, a boat or an estate or this or that or whatever isn't what you're looking for. We were created to have this intimacy with Christ. And that is what life is all about. When you live a life of fellowship, guess what? Your priorities kind of fall into place. And then you don't have to shrink back at the judgment seat of Christ. And there will be a lot of believers that get there and they realized, oh my goodness, my priorities were completely wrong. You see, and we don't want to do that. So 1 John, turn there if you will. Let's just begin, and this is in this lesson in our book is on tough texts, and a lot of people turn the book of 1 John into a book on a test whether or not you're saved. All right? But this is where it's a classic example of you have to ask people, what is your authority? Is your authority the text? Or is your authority the theology that you've been taught? Or the theology that you heard from the preacher on the radio? Or the theology from the pastor in the church you grew up in? What is your authority? Okay? So when we get into the text, we'll just start reading verse 1. What was from the beginning, what we've heard, what we have seen with our eyes, what we've looked at and touched with our hands concerning the word of life.
What chapter are we on?
I'm sorry, chapter 1.
Because it says in the book 5.
And the life was manifested, and we have seen and testified and proclaimed to you the eternal life which was with the Father and was manifested to us. What we have seen and heard we proclaim to you also, so that you too may have fellowship with us, the apostles, and indeed our fellowship is with the Father and with His Son, Jesus Christ. These things we write so that our joy may be made complete. So he begins. Okay, so this is John, the disciple whom Jesus loved. John was the closest living person on the earth with Jesus. So John's saying, look, we've heard from the beginning. We watched Jesus for 3 years or so. We watched him. We'd seen what he had done. We watched him clear the temple. We watched him walk on the water. We watched him say, hey kids, come on and sit on my lap. Right? We touched with our hands. They hugged Jesus. John leaned over on Jesus' chest at dinner and whispered, they were with Jesus day in, day out, right? They saw, the idea here is you know, men, just to give you an example here. Let's say, you know, we all, Roscoe, Matt, and David and I, we all kind of know each other, right? But until we would go, let's say, camping for a week in the wilderness, we don't really know each other, right? And sleep in a tent together, right? And all of the wonderful things that go along with that. After we go on a week trip, we then know each other, right? Now, think about, they followed Jesus for 3 years. So, I mean, after 3 years of day in, day out, traveling about, sleeping outside, just following Jesus, they knew Jesus. You know, like if we went on a trip, we'd say, yeah, you know, I was out 2 weeks with David in the wilderness, and you know, I know the good, bad, and the ugly about David, right? You know, you'd know each other, all, you know, warts and all kind of thing, right? So here John is saying, look, I was with Jesus, like as close as any human being has been. And we got to tell you how amazing it was to be with Jesus. And he says, he wants us to have fellowship with us. Now the word fellowship is an interesting word. In about 1100 AD in the Old English, fellowship was a synonym for intercourse. Okay? Fellowship is a very intimate relationship. You know, we have potluck today, right? So we think, hey, we're at potluck, we're going to fellowship. Well, that's not really fellowship. Fellowship is, now in our discipleship groups, that's where fellowship takes place. Like the ladies, we only have 2 of them here, y'all went on a retreat, and you all just like shared your lives with each other. And so Donna and Sue know far more about each other than the rest of us, other than Roscoe, in this room do. That's fellowship. That a deep, intimate, close relationship. And fellowship is all about you know the other person, like you really, really know them. Not the, you know, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, fine. You know, that's not knowing somebody. Knowing means like you know their struggles. You know their victories, their failures, their setbacks. You know right now what they're struggling with. You know their joys, their dreams, their hopes, their darkest fears. You know what absolutely makes them come alive. And so in fellowship, you know and you're known. You know, there's nothing like another person knowing you that you could just say just a sentence and you know that they know exactly how you feel, right? Because there are times, especially as men, we feel stuff that we can't even put words to. But when someone knows you and they can look at you and you know that they get it, you see, that's fellowship. So this book, John gives us the purpose statement. Now look at verse 5. So what is the purpose statement of John? Why did he write this book?
He wants to share the wonderfulness of Christ
Okay.
and all the intimacies that they learned about him, and that it's truth. And that, you know, like, you're hearing it from the source.
Yeah.
Because we were there personally. This isn't secondhand.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So, and I should probably include verse 3 in that. What we have seen and heard, we proclaim to you also, so that you too may have fellowship with us. And indeed, our fellowship is with the Father and with His Son, Jesus Christ. Now, one of the things we have to understand here is this book was probably written 90 AD. Okay? So this is close to 60 years after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. 60 years have gone by. So that's a lot of time, right? Pretty much all the other apostles are dead. And what has crept into the church is the beginning of Gnosticism. And Gnosticism had different kind of roots and different kinds of teachings, but it attacked the deity and full humanity of Christ. So in Gnosticism, in short, you could just know it diminished Jesus Christ as fully man and fully God. Some people wanted to say, well, Jesus wasn't fully human, just a spirit that walked around. You see, the human mind and the human ability to reason always runs us amok. And so the church was infiltrated with Gnosticism. It was also infiltrated by Judaizers. And so John is saying, listen, we want you to have fellowship with us, the apostles. The only way you have fellowship with the apostles is to continue to believe the apostolic teaching of the apostles and not be sucked into these false teachings that are here in the church. And that's why he says here the fellowship is with the Father and with His Son, Jesus Christ. These things we write so that our joy, the joy of the apostles and the apostolic community, may be made complete. So in other words, John's saying, listen, part of my joy as an old man is making sure you continue to walk in the pure, clear teachings of Jesus Christ. And the joy is going to be in having fellowship with not only us, but with the Trinity. Okay? So, what can we know about the purpose of what he has written? What is the book about? Would you say? Who is it? Who is the audience, let's say? Is it believers or unbelievers?
Believers.
Believers, okay? And the idea here is that our fellowship, okay, our fellowship, and I think he's speaking of the apostles and the readers, is with the Father and with His Son, Jesus Christ. So, is this book written about to test whether you're saved or whether you're having fellowship with Christ?
Fellowship.
Fellowship. Okay? So you can't go and take the book and turn it around into, well, Donna, I don't know the way you're living, you may not be saved. You see? If Donna's believed in Jesus for eternal life, she's saved. Now she's, out running around Kamiai and on a drunken bender, we would say, now Donna,
Sniff the cord.
yeah. We could say, Donna, are you in fellowship with Christ? Are you sharing that intimacy with Christ? Or, Donna, you're not living for eternity. You're living for now. Are you ready to meet the Lord? I wouldn't say you're not saved. I'd say, hey, you know what? Are you in fellowship with Christ? Are you walking with Him? You see. So this is a book, if you have the text as your authority, it's a book about intimacy with Christ. All right? So that's one of the things we want to we want to understand right from the very get-go. Now, look at let's go to chapter 2. No, let's not go to chapter 2 yet. Let's go to verse 5. We'll just keep going here. This is the message we have heard from him, Jesus, and announced to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. He's saying, okay, there's a teaching that, Jesus included both dark and light. The idea that maybe Jesus wasn't completely perfect. You see? Maybe before his baptism, there was a teaching that only at his baptism was he indwelt, but they say he was indwelt by the Holy Spirit. So before his baptism, he didn't live perfectly, was some of the claims to that. But verse 6, he says, if we say that we have salvation, what does it say?
Fellowship.
Fellowship with him, yet walk in darkness, we lie, and do not practice the truth. He's saying, listen, if you say, hey, you know what, I'm in fellowship with Christ, but yet you're living for now, you're, living in adultery, you're living in idolatry, you're living in a life of greed, he's saying, you're a big hypocrite. No, it's not a surprise that hypocrisy is what we get accused of most in the church. Because we have a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I'm a good Christian, but living in a completely different lifestyle than that. But verse 7 says, if we walk in the light as he himself is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sin. So again, what is the emphasis of verse 7? Salvation? Or is it fellowship? Fellowship. Okay? If we say that we have no sin, we are deceiving ourselves and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he's faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. If we say that we've not sinned, we make him a liar and his word is not in us. Now, does anything in there say if you're in sin, you're not saved?
No.
How can we make Jesus a liar when we're the ones doing the lying, not him?
It's like we're calling him a liar.
Yeah. So, what we're saying is,
If we're saying that we don't have no sin, we're calling him a liar. Because he said all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
But we're the ones that are sinning, and then we're trying to tell everybody that we're not sinning. We're doing the lying.
Well, think about it. In the beginning, when Adam and Eve were sinning, what were they doing? They were pointing the finger at the other, saying, well, this one gave me this, and, and she was like, well, the serpent tricked me, and they're pointing the finger at the other rather than,
Passing the buck.
yeah.
so what he's saying here is, the believer is going to continually sin. Okay, we never get to the place, and I've heard people say, I had one guy say, Jeff, I really don't struggle with sin.
I'd like to meet that man.
He's happy with his sin, he's happy.
Yeah, that's Roscoe. That's good.
The perfect man.
The point is when you compare yourself next to a completely holy God, you run into big trouble. And we are like out of time here. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, verse 6 is like, walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yes.
You know, you're
Yeah.
saying one thing, but you're living in the world.
Yeah. And so fellowship is it's this, okay, and let me just close this with this, and then we're gonna be done. It's kind of like this. David and I are friends. If after church, I walk up to David and slug him in the jaw,
Oh,
okay? Are we still friends?
Probably not with the fist of wickedness.
Well, we're still friends, but there's an issue, right?
What are you doing?
Okay?
Maybe you
So,
can talk.
so I just go punch him in the jaw. I can't turn around and say, hey, David, can I borrow $50 from you? Because, I want to go out to eat. David's going to say, wait, look, Jeff, I feel like killing you right now. Now, does he still love me? Yeah, he still loves me, but he's like, there's an issue here, Jeff. We got to deal with this. You just can't walk up and slug me in the jaw and then pretend like we're cool.
so he is the mature one.
Yes. So he's got to say, hey, look, we got to resolve this issue. Okay? So the same thing is with a believer is when we choose to live for ourselves, not love our brother, go on an orientation to life that leaves God out, or, we're in obvious sin. We've got to deal with that sin in order to have fellowship with Christ. And that's the idea. That's what the book is about. That when we slug God in the chin, we can't just put our head on our pillow, now I lay me down to sleep, Lord. God's saying, no, we've got to deal with some stuff here. And the idea is, and what I try to teach my kids, what I try to do is, every night when I put my head on my pillows, take an inventory. Okay, Lord, how are you and I today? Search me, God, know my heart. What sin have I flagrantly or otherwise committed that we need to make right? Because I want to be in fellowship with you. That's the idea here. Let me just pray and we'll be done. Dear Lord, thanks for everyone here. Thank you for your word. And help us to have greater fellowship with you. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, maybe read this chapter, everybody, this week, and we'll pick up here next week.